It's Wednesday, January 19th, 2011. And the title of this message is Die to Live. Basically how this message kind of came about, I was watching a Bollywood movie. I was watching a Bollywood movie, and Bollywood, an Indian movie.
Amen.
So I'm trying to learn some Hindi so I can teach you to go to India. But I was watching it, and there was a character who, in the movie, was diagnosed with brain cancer. And his doctor was telling him, you know, of all the things that, all the memories that he should be making in his life. And and as Christians, we've already faced that. And that's what Jesus came for, to bring us back to life. So why are we living our lives still in death?
Right.
And I started re-looking at my life and just looking at just different things that are going on and how it pertains to the Word. And most of you guys know I'm taking MMA classes and mixed martial arts, like UFC.
It's required in all Asians.
I was Asian, so I took some martial arts. But there's something called getting caught in a submission, and a lot of times when you're caught in a submission, if you don't know what to, I'm still new, so I don't know what steps or what to do to get out of a submission, and that's how a lot of us look at our lives. You know, people put us, or the enemy puts us in positions where we're struggling and we're trying to force our way out, but all you have to do is, what I've learned is to calm down, breathe, and listen to the instructions. Because a lot of times, because in class, you know, the coach is yelling out instructions on what to do, and at the same time in life, if you just slow down and listen, God's telling you exactly what to do.
Amen.
Amen. I started looking to the Word, and I'm like, you know, what am I needing to get rid of, or what do I need to do to make my Father happy? You know, it's as kids, all we want to do is impress our parents. And, you know, we have a Father that we all share that's higher than our parents. And what are we doing to make Him happy? You know, when we were little, you know, when was the first time that you're on a bicycle and your dad's pushing you and you're looking back for his approval? And then that time when he finally lets go and you're like, I'm on my own. You know, God has left you out and put you out on your own, but He's still there to guide you.
Amen.
You know, and all you have to do is let Him guide you.
Amen.
You know, and every day we live, we need to continually die to ourselves so we can live. And when we die to ourselves, we're not just ourselves living, but we're helping other people live.
Yeah.
Romans 6 says, "For we know that our old self was crucified with Him, so that the body of sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin, because anyone who has died has been freed from sin." And Jesus has freed us from that sin.
That's right.
But how many of us can say we went this entire week without sinning? Nobody.
My wife listening?
But I mean, we've been called to be free. The first things that God said to Adam and Eve was, "You are free to eat, just except from this." You know. But what's freedom? What's the difference between being a slave to something and being free? It's attitude and perception. Because like we've heard many times, it's like a budget. You know, some people find a budget freeing because you know exactly what you're able to do, and some people find a budget obsessive, not obsessive, oppressive. That's the word.
Yeah.
Because, well, some people find it obsessive too.
We'll try.
But it's oppressive because you want to do more, but you can't. And it's all about your attitude and your perception on your life.
Amen.
You know, some people look at life, being a Christian, as, you know, they shouldn't look at it as oppressive. But it should be free.
Amen.
And the words tells us there are things that we must do as Christians. And this isn't all of them, but there are some things that I try to do. First one is Acts 1:8. Talks about preaching the word from Jerusalem to Samaria to the ends of the earth. What does that mean? Most people just think of to the ends of the earth. No. The word says start in Jerusalem. Start in your own home. Start in your workplaces. Don't skip the step. It's like me just starting MMA training and wanting to fight in UFC next week. That's not going to happen. It's going to be little steps. But it's most important because God commands us to impress the word upon our children.
Amen.
And impress the word upon our spouses.
Yeah.
You know? And that's most important because that's going to leave the legacy when you die. You know, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Only God knows, right? What happens if you die tomorrow and all you did today was let your children play video games?
Right.
You know, instead of impressing the word on them, instead of spending that quality time with them.
Right.
And I can be honest with you, parents, especially since Joy and I, you know, we know when you impress the word upon your children when we talk to them. You know, and then Zechariah 10:7, it talks about the. I forgot what the people are.
Where do you want us to turn, John?
Zechariah 10:7.
There.
So in 10:7, Ephraimites will become. Well, I'll start a little bit about that. They will be tough. I have not rejected them, for I am the Lord, and I will answer them. Ephraimites will become like mighty men, and their hearts will be as glad as with wine. Their children will see it and be joyful. Their hearts will rejoice in the Lord. So your children, when they see how you react to things, when they see that 1 Thessalonians 5 tells you to be joyful always. So when your children see that you're joyful, they will be joyful. And then I was thinking about not just the children, but you know, well, another thing with that, Matthew 18, 2 through 6 talks about if you cause the children to stumble, you might as well have millstone around your neck, you know, because you're not impressing the word upon them, you know, and by you not teaching your kids what the right things to do is, and having them have other things as idols versus the Lord, you know, that's causing them to sin. Because what's sin? James 4:17. You guys knew that was coming. Anyone who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't sins. So if you know you're supposed to get to work on time and you don't, you're sinning. So that's why I said, if you know you're supposed to be at church on time.
Amen. Amen. You have an advocate. There is an advocate for your sin, by the way.
Also, being obedient to the word is being a good servant, but being a sacrificial servant. Some people will serve and serve and serve, but they're always like, God knows my heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they say God does know your heart,
Right.
and you'll be judged by your
Yeah.
deeds,
Mm-hmm.
and the deeds that you do. And in Revelation, can you guys turn to Revelations 3:15?
There. There.
You in the book of Acts.
It says, I know your deeds, that you are neither hot nor cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. That's, so that made me think. When I do things and I say that I'm serving, am I serving wholeheartedly? Am I just doing it to impress the pastor? Am I doing it to impress other people? I don't want to be spit out.
Right.
Because I can say that my deeds or whatever, but God knows.
Amen.
So when you do things, you do it unto the Lord. And when I was praying about, what to speak about, there's so many things that I've done that, I don't finish. I admit that. That's why I'm trying to stick to this MMA. But there's in James 1, awesome book.
Amen.
There.
That's probably one of my favorite books in the Word. I'm going to read a little bit out of it, if you guys don't mind. Okay. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so you can be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So when we're doing all this work, and how many times have you served and things not go right?
Yep.
But you have to continue. There's been many times where, I've started things and you don't see the end product, but when the end product comes, you're like, wow, and that's where you learn. There's, like this last year was pretty crazy at work. A lot of stuff, a lot of changes, and there was times where I wanted to leave where I was at because things just weren't going my way, and there are opportunities that fell through, and that verse came to me during that time, and it was like, just wait it out, just wait it out, and everything will turn out. And everything turned out. And now, I mean, work's amazing to be at, and I'm surrounded by really good people. I have a manager that's a believer, so we're able to talk with each other about the word at work. And then this kind of came in my mind, and I didn't speak up during worship, but I feel there's people here that proclaim they've been healed, or pray, but still doubt. Still doubt that God's gonna come through for them. But later on in James 1, he says, when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like the wave of the sea being blown and tossed by the winds. It's set your face like flint. Once you tell yourself God's going to do something for you, believe it. Don't like, oh well. No, it might not pass right away. Just like many other stories in the Bible, it doesn't happen right away. But if you persevere, you're going to learn how to deal with that. And the more you learn how to deal with those trials, the more you're going to be able to minister and witness. I met a resident today that I was speaking to him, and he was diagnosed with skin cancer. And so he had to get part of his hand grafted and stuff like that. But we got a chance to speak, and he's like, I'm going to church now. He's like, once I was that close to, I could have died. And he's like, I don't want to go back to where I was. And he was saying, all the things I've been through, I'm able to be a witness.
Amen.
That's right.
And many of us will sit and listen, but have no action, or our actions don't reflect, what we hear, and we forget what the Word says. The Word has already told us that He has already equipped us to go out and do everything. Even greater things than Jesus did. He has given us all that power. I guess the basis of what I wanted, the point that I wanted to get across is, you've already died. You've already seen death. Now live your life like there was no tomorrow.
Amen.
And do it according to the Lord. It makes me want to spend more time in my life, spend more time in fellowship. I know a lot of us work long hours and stuff like that, but don't take yourself out of fellowship, because that's how people get pulled away. You want to keep yourself in fellowship so that we can encourage each other and draw each other. And husbands and wives, try to fellowship together with other couples. Don't just do one or the other, because couples need couples, and at the same time, wives will need to spend times with other women, and guys will need guy time. And it's all a process of building that three-stranded cord. But the most important thing that God has told me to do is learn to forgive.
Amen.
Learn to forgive quickly.
Amen.
You know,
Amen. Boy, that's
because we're all family, and
Yes.
I don't want 10 years down the road look back and I get a chance to be with Eric and Matt a lot, and a lot of times, you know, we're looking through photo albums and like, well, he's not serving anymore. He's not serving. I don't want that to happen to any of us.
Amen.
You know, whether we move away or stuff like that, remain in fellowship with each other.
Amen.
You know, that's one thing I encourage everybody is to start at home and fellowship with their children. Impress the word upon them. Don't cause them to stumble.
That's a good word, John.
And then fellowship with each other through serving. Most importantly, through serving. There's a lot of things going on in the church that we can serve in. And when you serve, be sincere. And whenever you visit people, you know, don't be a burden. You know, the word says, you know, actually, one thing that I see, and I'll just kind of lay it out, is, you know, if somebody invites you over, you know, we should be fighting to do the dishes. We should be fighting to help clean. You know, after church, you shouldn't be told to put away the chairs. You know, we should be fighting to see who does it first. You know, fellowship comes after the servant, or after serving, or fellowship while you're serving. You know, while you're doing things.
Amen.
We have to multitask. You know, if you're, and children, if your parents are out of town, whatever, help clean up the house. You know, don't let them come back to the house and it be messy when all you've been doing is watching TV all day. You know, and that's where I say, sacrificial servants give life. And you give life because when your parents come home, or if you're watching somebody's house or something like that, when they come home, they don't have to clean. I wish Jen was in here. But how happy was Jen when you guys came home and there was a few people from the church who came over to clean the house?
All kinds of happy.
Because she was expecting to come home and clean, you know. And it's just those little things that people are going to see, you know, and whatever little things that are in front of you, you know, God's going to give you more. And it's those little things that will give you more. And, you know, I hear so many people say they want to be in ministry, or they see their future in ministry. Well, here's where you start.
That's right.
You know, don't start by going out trying to evangelize everybody when you can't do stuff inside the church, when you can't do stuff inside your own home. Evangelize your children. Evangelize your coworkers, your you know, the children are trying to say. I mean, I just want to encourage you guys. I just want to encourage you guys. I just want to encourage you guys to just keep running the race, you know, and to finish the race, you have to finish by the rules, and these are the rules that the Lord has laid out for us to follow. And I didn't have. Well, I kind of had a plan, but I wasn't as prepared as I was last time. So, thank you, Jesus.
We like it over there.
Awesome.
John's message was called Die to Live. That's a paradox, isn't it? How do you live if you're dying? All of the kingdom's a paradox. Who saves the world by dying for it? Who does something like that?
Yeah.
God we serve does. I tell you, all around us, the problem is not that people don't believe the right things. It's not. Our doctrine is pristine. Our T's are crossed. Our I's are dotted. All around us, the buildings are pretty, and Christianity is neatly in mainstream. But how many people do you know that are demonstrating a willingness to die for your benefit? You say, well, I would on that day. Man, John, you needed me. I'll be there. I'll die. But when John needed you to just cut him a little break in that argument that you were in, we couldn't die to our own will then.
Yeah.
I want to read you something, because there is a truth that he spoke about that I surely don't want you to miss. This comes from 2 Corinthians 4, verse 10. I'll read it to you. I rarely lie when I'm talking about the Word. If we're playing poker, it'd be different. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. For we who are alive are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that life may be revealed in our mortal bodies. So then, death is at work in us, but life is at work in you. Every minister of the gospel, and you are all ministers of the gospel, every human being that ever wanted to do something for Jesus, it starts with the death of your will in a moment.
Amen.
It starts with the giving up of your rights in that moment.
Yeah.
It starts in the giving up of respect or honor or whatever it is you believe is due you in that moment, and putting someone else's need before you. The truth of the gospel is that it always brings death to the giver and life to the recipient.
Amen.
This began with Jesus. It was death to him as the giver and life to us as the recipient. And now we walk in him. Now our job, starting with, husbands, you'll love this, starting with your spouse,
Yeah.
the way you treat your wife. Death to the giver, life to the recipient.
Amen.
Wives, you'll love this, starting with your children. Death to you, life to them.
Yeah.
When we begin to do these things in our home, they become a habit. You practice them at home, just like a football team practices its plays. Then when you get outside the walls of your house, it has become second nature. So that when a woman says something to you ugly in a parking lot at Kroger's, death to you, life to her.
Yeah.
And this spreads the gospel. And when you've done it in your hometown, then you get to do it in your state. And when you've done it in your state, then your nation. When you've done it in your nation, then you go to the world. This is the gospel pattern. John's teaching it to us, and one of the reasons he sees it so clearly is because he works with our children. He works with our children. We can say what we want to, but our children's lives don't tell lies.
Yeah.
They don't. And when he asks my little boy, what do you think we should do in this situation? And he responds, kick him in a not nice place. What that shows is, number one, he's still a little boy. And number two, Dad's work is not done.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't yet understand death to the giver, life to the recipient. I love you. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of John for sharing that word.
Amen.
If we can do this, if you can learn to die in a situation when somebody's rude to you, whatever it is, and give life, the gospel will spread like yeast working its way through dough.
Yeah.
It will cause the whole situation to rise. This is the unadulterated gospel, not people's perfect doctrine or nice dress or pretty steeples. And you know the purity and the authenticity of Christianity by whether or not there is death in the giver and life in the recipient. Amen? We must die to live. Just stand, we'll pray. Some of you may recognize that phrase. On our website, there is a short video by a woman named Jackie Pullinger. Jackie went around the world for Jesus. After having seen mass salvation in nations by going to live with the homeless and eat what they ate and wear what they wear, doing those kind of things and seeing an authentic, powerful move of God, she had an opportunity to speak to pastors. We put what she said on our website.
That's right.
She said the mystery of the gospel is that it has always brought death to those who brought the gospel and life to the recipients. And if you are not willing to die, you will never see them live.
Yeah.
Yeah. These people are heroes in the faith. In Philippians, Paul said about Epaphroditus, honor men like him.
Yeah.
He almost died for the gospel. This is what we honor. Not people who speak well, not beautiful music, not the way people dress or any of those things. It's where they die for the gospel.
Yeah.
I pray that the people in here will demonstrate that kind of love daily.
Amen.
That's the difference. It really is that let your reputation die for Jesus.
Amen.
Let your desire in that moment die for Jesus. This is what it means to bring him an offering or a sacrifice of praise. Mighty God, we thank you. We thank you for the chance to stand in your presence. Lord, we have never deserved this kind of high honor, but you purchased us for yourself.
Sí, Señor. Sí, Señor. Sí, Señor.
Mighty One, we thank you for that mighty act of salvation where you have torn us from the world and delivered us with a mighty hand. Lord, we ask that you would empower us to live lives worthy of the high call, that we would imitate you. Lord, that everywhere we go, we would be willing to carry our cross and deny ourselves, as you have said, that others might live. Lord, put in us a heart that cares more about them than about us. We love you, Jesus. And we ask that you would mold our hearts and lives in an undivided, fully committed way. In the name of Yeshua we pray. Amen.
Amen.